camera I'm going to try today is a camera which has some fans and some detractors, and we used to refer to this as a Russian camera, but it was actually made in Ukraine, and I'm talking about the Kiev 88. And at first sight you would say, oh, it looks very much like a Hasselblad. Well, it's famous for looking like a Hasselblad. The previous model to this was the Salut camera, which was extremely similar. However, the shutter compared to the Hasselblad is very different. What we have in here is a focal plane shutter. And this camera is famous for being unreliable, but there are other people who absolutely love it. I have nearly bought it several times and was put off by the stories of fear and the horror stories of shutters not working. However, I've been lent this camera, and let's see what it's made of. Well, it's heavy. It's definitely a very solid camera. We have the shutter speeds on the side here. First thing we need to do is load a film, and I've got a blank film to demonstrate how to do this, and I do that by taking out the film canister and grinding on here, and that will give me number 1. Obviously I'm not at number 1 yet because I need to load the film and set it for number 1. Now, to load the film, the spool, take-up spool, must be on this part here, on the take-up side. There we are. And I'm going to put the film in by, let's just work it out, yes. So, film here, bring it over to the front. Now, you see that dot there? On a lot of cameras you've got a red dot. We haven't on the Kiev 88. We have to put this back into the film chamber carefully. Slide it in gently and lock. Now, open the little window here. Open the window and you'll be able to see the back of the film. Now we have to wind until we get to number 1. We've got number 1 here, but we have to wind this until we can see number 1 through the window. And when we see number 1 in the window, I mean, it's not a red window, it's just a clear window. Keep winding, it's coming up to number 1. And when we see number 1 there, we close it and we are ready to shoot. We obviously have the pop-up viewfinder there. We focus up the front. The shutter has to be set after the film's been round on, and that's been round on, so we can change our shutter if we want. I'm going to go up to 1,000th of a second, set our aperture, focus, shoot, wind on, and it will automatically have gone on to 2, and because we've now round on, we can change the shutter speed to 125 or whatever we want. And that, believe it or not, is as simple as this camera is. If we want to change the lens, again, make sure we've moved the shutter on, and there's a button here, and we can move the lens off if we have an interchangeable lens. At the end of the film, you just make sure you double click and wind so the film gets to the end. It has got an interchangeable back. It is a camera I found was quite nice to use. Let's see how I got on when I actually used it. The first photograph was of a signpost, and these are called finger posts in Dorset, and I was pleased with how sharp it was, and it's clear, and the exposure is absolutely fine. And here's another finger post. Again, you can see the amount of detail we get with 2 1/4, and you can see why people like 2 1/4, because 2 1/4 medium format is an extremely high quality format, and actually the Kiev is performing well. There were a couple of filters that I didn't actually take out with me, but a yellow filter would have been useful. And you can see again, it's really sharp, it's really clear, and the camera wasn't actually in use as heavy as I thought it was going to be. I've now moved up to Poundbury Square, where Poundbury Village in Dorset, which was built by King Charles when he was Prince of Wales, and it will be very interesting how the new Prince of Wales reacts to Poundbury. I'm sure he's heard a lot about it. Poundbury is a sort of new village outside Dorchester, and it makes a good subject for testing cameras. It has an array of classical architecture in the middle of Dorset. Here we have a view of the Duchess of Cornwall Hotel, and you can see how the streets are. But the camera, how is the camera behaving? The camera behaved very well. I was delighted with it actually, and I can see why they do have a following. So if you see a Kiev 88, don't dismiss it completely. If it's working, it could end up as a good, useful camera. Thanks for watching.